certain words. And we get lots of those. And especially lately with everything that has been going on in the city, they are backed up. And they get, records requests. So what they'll do is they'll run this request and they'll find every single email that might be responsive. And so then those go into staff and have to be gone through and found out, is it relevant, is it privileged, is it that? Then we have to go to the departments and we have to ask the people, do you have anything? So when this came through to my desk, yes, yesterday. And was it generated by the Office of Public Engagement and didn't come in somewhere else before then? Probably. But we got this to him as quick as we could. I don't have to use it. I believe I can cross-examine him about it if I want to without admitting it. So.
Mr. Hunter, your only objection is that you didn't get notification that the city was using this document 10 days ago per the normal
or at
procedure.
any point prior to the hearing. They did not include the documents they gave me yesterday. They have not made any effort to include it in their documentation. So when I got this yesterday, I had no indication they were going to be using any of those documents in their documentation. So that it's not really this document. I'm not sure what the point of this document is. It seems pretty straightforward to me, but it's more the principle that they've made no effort to include any of these documents in the documents they would use in their case, which would require an exchange. It's not really the timing. I'm not questioning that. Could they have gotten it to me faster? I don't know, but they've made no effort to include it in their documents.
I'm not sure I understand the no effort. Is there an assertion that there's any bad faith, or just that they or prejudice? Bad faith or prejudice?
Before we answer that, can I just ask you clarifying questions? When did you make the request for these documents?
October 24th. Almost a month.
Okay, and was that request related to general discovery or something separate outside of what you wanted to do with the exchange documentation?
Well, as you may know, Vice Chair, there is really no discovery in this hearing. You don't have a right to ask them to turn over anything. Each side shows up with the documents that they wish. Well, you have to, 10 days ahead of time, you have to show up with the documents you intend to use. And I did that. I had made the request and asked that they be given to me in time for me to include them in my document exchange 10 days ahead of time. That didn't happen. It happened the day before the hearing. And all I'm saying is that as a general proposition, Commission member or Board member Moffitt, I'm just concerned that they could use documents that they didn't include in their exchange, whether it was done on 10 days ago or done yesterday. They had these documents the same time I did yesterday. So that's my only concern. I don't think this document is necessarily a problem, but for my client, and I'd be happy, I guess, to have him question on it, but it's the principle that is an issue.
I'm just confused that he handed it to me this morning, and now he says I can use it and you can't. I don't get that.
I just wanted to ask the question, do you think it would be prejudice if you use this, or just it's equally available to both of you at the same time?
I don't think it's prejudice in that sense. I'm just saying, I think that the city, just like if I tried to use a document that was not in my set that I had given them 10 days ago, or updated, they might say, I think they'd be justified saying, well, you can't use this, but I'll be happy to let her go ahead and use it. Maybe we can do a document at a time, and if I think there's some prejudice, I'll let you know. I don't see any here.
I think that's an appropriate thing, and if the city does continue to seem to have the same issue, we can address it then. But at this point, unless there's prejudice, I think that we ought to err on the side of letting in evidence as opposed to excluding it for a non-reason.
Well, and I can tell you that anything that's in my list that's not in his, I put it in there because I thought it was going to come in, so I don't have any objection to that. So.
We'll take it document by document.
Okay, that's the only one. That's the only one.
I'll rely on council to come forward when they feel they've been prejudiced by some aspect of when the documents were turned over, and we will go ahead and admit and do it. Okay?
Okay. Oh, sorry. All right. Lawyers. All right. All right. And just for the record, Brian Postel is the individual in our public engagement office that does this as well. Okay, Lieutenant Byrd. I have handed you what has been marked as for that. Okay. And can you tell me what that document is?
It's a request to our help desk, which is IT, to have a computer route to a particular printer. To print documents.
Okay, and can you read the first sentence?
It says, I have been reassigned to logistics as of August 2nd.
Okay, so as of this day, August 4th, you considered yourself to be reassigned as opposed to transferred, is that correct?
I think we decided that,
Sheriff would say that's been asked and answered before. Don't see the party agree with the other disagree on terminology, so.
Okay,
If you could move on.
Okay.
We got that.
All right, so when you were reassigned or transferred, your job title as lieutenant did not change, did it? You were still lieutenant,
still lieutenant, my rank was still lieutenant.
okay, and you had the same salary
Correct.
and the same benefits, is that correct? All right. You haven't mentioned anything in any of your grievances against your current acting captain, Wally Welch, have you?
No, no.
Now, your grievance, you stated that, and we've been through this a little bit, but I just want to ask a couple more questions. That basically, in so many words, you can correct me, that you were sort of set up to fail, and that it was so much of a mess that there was just, it was very difficult to fix it. Is that correct, or tell me your own words?
It was a disaster.
Okay. And it was a disaster before you got there, okay? And who do you think, do you know who, I mean, so whoever was there, whether it was sometime in the past, and there were some issues, larger issues, legal issues about that evidence room, wasn't there?
Yes.
Okay. Somebody had to go and try to straighten it out, didn't they?
Yes.
I mean, there had to be somebody assigned to that job, isn't that right?
Correct.
And apparently, because of the state you said it was in, whoever was there was not getting it done, is that fair to say? Okay. So, how is the position that you were in, which was, it was a disaster, any different than somebody else who would have been put in there to do the same job?
I don't know what could have been or would have been if someone else had been in that position.
But no matter no matter who was there, they were walking into a disaster, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that disaster, I mean, has, the chief or has to, would you not agree that he should, within the scope of his duties, try to remedy that disaster?
I don't know if I can comment on really what the chief should do.
Would you think the disaster should stay?
I know that certainly he did be correct.
Okay. And I guess what I'm trying to understand is how the state of that evidence room, because everybody's walking in the same thing, why that was any different for you in that?
Well, I can just tell you what my position was when I got in there and what the directives and restraints were towards me. I don't know if those have been established previously or what the directives have been. I just know what the requirements were of me.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have now.
Okay. Mr. Hunter. Thank you.
Byrd, I ask you to go back to the grievance that you filed on August 27th. I believe it's Exhibit C in front of you. And, your grievance was, is it accurate to state that the grievance you filed was based on an allegation that you were being subjected to a series of harassing or retaliatory actions by the chief? Yes. Okay. Now, let's set the stage a little bit. Why do you believe the chief took these actions? What precipitated his, in your opinion, in your grievance, what precipitated his anger at you or his desire to harass and retaliate?
For this situation.
For this
here, what
situation.
was the catalyst for
Right.
chain of events? I think it was my memo concerning the increase in violent crime downtown.
Okay. Now, if you would, just tell the board why you wrote the memo, and what the topic or the subject of the memo was.
I had gotten a request in my role as special operations. It was my requirement to get kind of all of our patrol divisions quarterly reports together to give to the city manager and council. And once I compiled that documentation, I forwarded it up to our accreditation manager, and she would kind of condense from each division that our report and kind of combine them into a smaller document for the manager and council to review on certain goals and objectives we're trying to achieve. I had gotten a request from our accreditation manager asking me about the increase in violent crime downtown. It was specifically part 1 violent crime, there was a 233% increase from one year to the next.
Lieutenant Byrd, just for our information, what do you mean when you say part 1 crime?
They're the bad ones. Murder, rape, robbery, the most violent crimes. Certainly the ones that most of us are most concerned about. Since I was responsible for our downtown unit, been there for a little over a year, about a year and a half. I had the time to meet with my sergeants, to kind of get a perspective of what's taking place. This was kind of my area of responsibility. By getting some input from other folks, I typed up my response and listed a set of contributing factors that led to this. There wasn't one identifying factor that you could point your finger at. It was kind of a culmination of things that in my opinion, led to this increase.
Or just so is the memo you drafted attached to your grievance and what the board has?
Yes.
Is it attachment number 2 to that grievance? I believe it is.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. So, you were asked to do this, and you drafted this memo having to do with causes, contributing factors to this increase in violent crime.
Correct.
And what did you say? The memo's here, but in summary form, do you recall what you put in the memo as to the contributing factors?
Well, we were having, there were several factors. We had staffing issues, we had some challenges with our augment, which was a kind of a supplemental patrol group downtown. We had our Charlie district, which is downtown to South Asheville. We had some staffing challenges with those folks. The types of crimes we were focusing on at that time were a challenge in and of themselves. Our criminal investigations division, they were having some staffing challenges as well, and we potentially had some crime reporting issues that could have influenced a fluctuation in these numbers, depending on how they were coded in the UCR. We had some response time issues, and I'm just going to go through the document, and then I drew up a conclusion.
And when you say staffing challenges, what are you referring to?
We were having some some fairly significant officer shortages, not only with the downtown unit itself, but also with patrol in general, and then also we had a significant number of vacancies in our criminal investigations division that kind of, I guess, created kind of a domino effect where we had essentially some staffing challenges.
So when you say staffing challenges, basically, would it be accurate to say that the APD did not have enough officers to adequately staff the downtown unit in terms of law enforcement officers?
Jackson, he's leading us.
I'm gonna overrule that. Well, but
And Lieutenant Byrd, please yes or no instead of a hesitation.
Yes.
And did you also discuss in your memo anything concerning any steps that were being taken to try to put more officers on the street in downtown Union, particularly having to do with trainees?
We did. There was a new initiative where we were trying to put more cops on the street. We're trying to get more officers in uniform, and through that, we had been given a kind of a plan where we were going to fill positions with folks that were still in field training, and there was not a concern about having these officers assigned to a field training officer. And a field training officer is somebody who's been trained, formally trained in training police officers, a mentor to the program. That was not going to take place, and that was certainly a concern of mine because of the potential liability that is imposed upon us, not only as officers, but the city as a whole.
Yeah, if you look at the second page of your memo, you see the second paragraph under augment, which says in this memorandum.
Yes.
Okay, would you just read that for the board?
In this memorandum, I was directed by Chief Anderson to list a protocol for staffing these unfilled vacancies. Stage 2 of the staffing proposal was to utilize trainees for these positions. These would be trainees that would work alongside a veteran officer. I was told that the veteran officer did not need to be a field training officer. I have serious concerns about this staffing initiative with trainees not working alongside an FTO. Previously being an FTO and an FTO sergeant, I see the significant liability for our agency with this process. With a significant number of our agency's officers having very little experience in law enforcement, this could result in some significant issues. Without these officers being formally trained as FTOs, proper guidance and direction could be lacking. This initiative will certainly deviate from our previous practice within the organization.
So you had a concern about this staffing initiative, placing trainee officers on the street with non-field training, correct?
Yes.
Right. And in terms of other crimes, other than the Part 1 crimes, do you see down below that where it says complaints and nuisance crimes?
Yes.
What was your first sentence there? Can you just read that?
As a result of the decreased number of officers within the CBD, we are experiencing an increase in the number of complaints that we're receiving concerning crime and other issues.
Right, and this involved not just violent crimes, it also involved these nuisance crimes, what's called nuisance crimes?
Correct.
So, who did you send this memo to?
I sent it to Sergeant Chuck Sands, which is our accreditation manager at that time, CID Detective Supervisors, Captain Tim Swain, Sergeant Jackie Stepp, Lisa Toad, Sergeant Michael Flanagan, and Lieutenant Don Everhart.
All right, and, do you know if the chief saw this memo?
Objection. Whether copies in her, she's not here.
I think he's allowed to testify as to whether he's aware of something.
Okay.
Yes, he is.
And at some point, okay, this was dated July 14th, correct?
Correct.
And, were you copied on an email from Chief Anderson, soon after you wrote this memo concerning, that had topic concerning the use of trainee officers?
Yes, sir.
And, if you will look, is that attached to your grievance as well? I believe it is, it's probably.
Yes, sir.
Good. Do you know what attachment it is?
Attachment 3.
Okay, the next, after your memo, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and attachment 3, so what is that? What is attachment 3?
The email sent by Chief Anderson was sent to the police command staff and then CC'd to me. This is
And what was the date on it?
July 16th.
Okay, 2 days after you dropped your memo, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did Chief Anderson, what did he say in this email?
Placing rookie cops with veteran officers. Wow, what a novel idea.
And then does he have some other, is there something else there on the email?
There's a link that references an article, I think it's through CBS, about NYPD and their utilization of placing rookie officers with veteran officers.
Are you, in the to line, it says from William Anderson to police command staff, are you a member of the command staff? Were you a member of the police command staff
No.
at this time? So, do you have any idea why he copied you with this email? Were you ever told why he copied you with this email?
No, sir.
Did you find this email, how did you view this email?
I viewed it as derogatory in nature, that, he was taking a jab back at me, because of the comment that I had placed in my memo.
Okay. And, some days after you got the email, did you learn that you were being, I'll say transferred?
Yes.
Okay. And, that was effective, July 3rd, or it was announced, July 21st, correct? In
Correct.
terms of the email announcement that was,
Correct.
At any point prior to that announcement going out, had anyone approached you about the possibility of you being transferred out of the patrol division?
I've not received any emails or notification. I had a conversation with Captain Swain about some upcoming changes that will be taking place.
Okay. Well, was that after you wrote your memo? Okay. But prior to writing the memo on the 16th, had anyone approached you, or did you have any information that you were about to be moved out of the patrol division?
No, sir.
Have you subsequently seen any information from the city that would lead you to believe that the chief was upset about your memo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And, do you recall what context that was in?
Besides the written memorandum that I received, per the documentation that we received yesterday, it looks like there was a series of potentially draft emails or notes to where this was certainly one of the points that was seemed to be a great deal opposed.
Well, were these emails or drafts that were prepared by Chief Anderson?
Correct.
Now, why, you were asked why you thought this was detrimental to be moved into this particular position. Would you just very briefly summarize what you found when you got over to your new position in terms of your major duties and the situation involved with this duty?
I was transferred August 2nd. I was work on I guess that was Monday, August 4th, to assume this new role. Once I got in there, we met with our property evidence folks and realized that, we had an extreme backlog of property that we disorganized. Soon thereafter, found out that we had several Connex trailers that contained evidence behind the police department that were not alarmed and had not been alarmed for an extended period of time. With the focus and issues that we had over the property in recent years, I notified my supervisor and made him aware, and that became part of the dealing for the property managers to address those Connex trailers and get things alarmed. In the days after, I found out about a radar situation.
So let me ask you, before we go on to the radar situation, let's talk about the evidence room for a little bit. You got there on August 2nd, I think, right?
Correct.
Were you given a task as it related to the evidence room soon after you arrived there?
Yeah, I wasn't sure how quick you wanted to go.
Yeah, okay.
I've been there less than a week, and I have been directed to draft a memo, on how I was going to accomplish purging the property rooms in the next year and a half.
And, did you talk with the property room manager about that issue?
Yes.
And given the resources that were available, did the property room manager have an estimate as to how long it would actually take to properly purge the property room?
To the best of my recollection of the documentation in front of me, but according to a memorandum that was provided by a property room manager, the resources we had at the time was going to take approximately 17 years to be able to go through the property that we had in our custody.
And could you tell what progress had been made in the years? Do you know when the property room was audited in the following? Do you know what year that was?
I think that was 2011.
Okay. And
I really hate to disrupt your flow, but I have request for a break. Sure. One stop to
Sure.
do you have any problems with it? I assume you're getting started.
Yeah, I don't, and let me explain I'm trying to do enough for the board to get a sense of what was going on in terms of the retaliation allegations, things like that. We have evidence that if we get into the hearing proper, we would use to document all of this, but I'm just trying to get Mr. Byrd to give us kind of a summary fashion with it at this point.
And I'm not objecting, because I don't have a problem with that to a certain extent, but we are here on a motion to dismiss and not on the merits and everything that happened. So, again, I'm okay for now, but I will object if it comes that we have a full-blown hearing on the merits.
Well, that was my concern, that since you weren't objecting, I wasn't saying anything either, but this is the motion to dismiss, and we are supposed to be focusing on the issue as to our jurisdiction, not the merits. So, and I don't know where you're going, but it just, I'm having trouble seeing that.
Well, Ms. Curran was the one that asked, why did you think this transfer was harmful to your career? So I'm just having.
Correct, and Mr. Hunter is technically on cross, which in North Carolina allowed to be live, even though it is technically his client but not his witness. And so the chair is allowing some deference here because he's on cross. But we are mindful of staying on point with regard to the subject matter jurisdiction, and we will continue to do that. Thank you. We would ask the board of council to do that. We just, our break is more at this point. So if we could take a 10-minute break and then return. Thank everybody. Appreciate that.